There's a subtle misunderstanding that regulation arrives through effort. But today, we'll explore how the nervous system doesn't settle because we push it. It settles when it senses safety. Today's video is the final in the series of 4 around regulation and coherence. And today I wanted to just really simplify how regulation arrives in very simple and easy ways, not through a lot of grand techniques or complicated techniques. And today I'm not even seeking to offer techniques to fix anything for you. It's about bringing these reminders to ourselves that on some level I suspect we all know and we've all experienced, but to remember to use these very simple ways of bringing ourselves back into a regulated state. So some very simple examples. A breath that we drop down a bit lower into the body. A pause before we speak. Softening of the jaw, dropping of the shoulders, feeling the feet on the floor. And even just a moment of genuine eye contact with someone you're communicating with can all bring about a simple and steady return to coherence and to regulation. So what's happening here is nothing needs to be forced. We just need to give ourselves permission to find our way back to what naturally restores. That we seek to find our way back into that state of equilibrium when we give ourselves the chance to do so. When the pressure is removed and safety just arrives on its own. And so if I offer a very simple example from how I see myself or sense myself operating in my everyday world, and how many of you would no doubt experience something similar, which is just moments of irritation. So if I take a moment of being irritated or annoyed by an experience that's unfolding, let's say an interaction with another human being. So even just to pause as I notice the irritation coming through me is already the start of that return. Not to act immediately, not to say anything, not to do anything, just that simple pause is already the start of my way back. When I do that, I find that my body just starts to settle on its own. And that capacity to respond rather than react opens up. So it's not complicated at all. It's remembering, and yes, there's a level of awareness that's required to tune in and detect when irritation, when some kind of an emotion has presented. But once that moment of awareness has presented and we can pick up on what's going on, the next step is not complicated at all, and it's not a big, grand, dramatic gesture, a grand, dramatic technique, as I said before, that shifts things. And it doesn't even require a moment of insight where you realize something deep going on, or what the pattern is, or what the part of you that's been triggered is. That's not even required either. We will come to that in subsequent videos, but for this small moment of return, insight isn't required. Simply staying with what was showing up, slowing down enough to allow it, just with that pause, is more than enough. And multiplying that, doing that over and over and over again. And I would say that there's a role for that process, regardless of how much inner work we feel like we've done on ourselves. That even with diving in and working with different aspects or parts that are wounded, etc., that there's very likely still going to be situations where certain protective parts, certain wounds still get activated unless we've reached a state of enlightenment. But for most of us, that is going to continue to be something that we'll work through, and it's not a sign that we haven't progressed at all. The moments of catching it and allowing it to pass through us, that's the evolution, that's the progression. I think for a lot of us, we can fall into just simply reacting, and an action has already unfolded before we've even given a chance for regulation to descend upon us. So the fact that we still have to bring ourselves back with these small moments, with these, I guess, micro movements back towards regulation, is not a sign that we're failing at all. It's quite the opposite. And so I'd like to just take a moment to connect with the simplicity of these types of moments right now with you. Often when I offer these exercises, I encourage viewers to close their eyes, but that's not necessary for this exercise. In fact, if we're going about everyday life and having these moments that require some choice to regulate, then we are going to have our eyes open. So it's probably more appropriate to leave your eyes open for this exercise, but feel free to do either. It's short, it's simple, it's just a taste. And maybe it will help you register what works for you. I'm not seeking to change anything here. I just invite you to notice yourself as you go through this. So just take a moment to get comfortable and start with letting a breath drop. This sense that as you breathe, that gravity just takes the breath down a bit lower. It doesn't have to be a full or a deep type of breathing. It's just more of allowing gravity to bring you down with the breath, bring you in with the breath. And now soften your jaw slightly. Even if it's just a few percent looser than what it was before I offered that prompt. Again, let gravity bring a sense of your jaw hanging a little bit more than what it was a moment ago. Maybe you also notice what your tongue's doing. Is it pressing onto the roof of your mouth without even realizing it? Letting it sit back into your lower jaw. Notice that. Let your shoulders drop slightly. Even if it doesn't feel like they were particularly high. Simply the act of lowering them signals something to you. It signals this surrender into the moment. And now feel your feet on the floor more consciously. More aware of what is in contact with the soles of your feet. If you're wearing socks and shoes, then notice the texture of your socks and shoes, but more importantly, just the sense of support that's underneath either your feet or your footwear. Just really lean into the support that the floor offers you. It brings you into this now moment far more, just to note your feet on the floor. And just stay here for a few breaths. Allowing yourself to note how simple it can be to return to presence, to come into a state of allowing with the breath, your jaw, your shoulders, your feet. Now I hope you can see from what we did just there that nothing dramatic needed to unfold to find your way to those sensations, and yet I suspect, at least for some of you, you would have noticed a shift. I did. And I've engaged with each of those micro movements many times before, yet each time I do it, I still feel the impact of it. And the repetition over time requires even less effort. It becomes our new autopilot. So don't underestimate moments using any of those little micro movements. For some of you, it might be a hand on the heart or something else that's a little gesture like that, but it certainly does not need to be complicated, and it is the repetition that makes all the difference. It's these small returns over time that brings us back to body. It's returning to breath, returning to presence, and returning to yourself. And over time, these small movements create ease and a new pattern where regulation becomes natural. Thank you for watching.